a little bit. Might try to switch networks, but as well as possibly cutting the holes for your drawstring. You might also want to use a hole punch, especially if you have a sharp hole punch. They work really well for making the holes that your drawstring will run through on your bag. And I totally forgot to put this on your little included and what you might need slip that's in these bags, but you also want to have some tape just to hold your template together. So let's go ahead, and now I'm going to use this one that's already cut into a circle, but I did cut out this pattern. So the pattern's in 2 pages, and you'll just tape it together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I already cut it out. It was on a big sheet like that, but I've got it cut out, and I'll go ahead and tape these 2 halves together so that it is one pattern. Try to line it up. One of the holes is kind of cut in half. Make sure we line it up as close as possible, and then tape it so that it is a circle. It's just a little bit too big to put on a single sheet of paper, and this way you get, you know, the most out of that sheet of felt. It's the biggest bag that you can make out of a circle on that size felt. All right, so now we've got it taped together. And it mentions on here that you can also use an X-Acto knife. So if you're comfortable using an X-Acto knife to cut your circles, you can certainly do that as well. I am going to go around with a hole punch on this one. And also, I didn't bring any pins. If you sew and have like straight pins that you'd use for sewing, you can definitely pin down the pattern, or you can also use tape and tape it down, and it'll just peel right off. It won't cause any issues. Felt is super forgiving and friendly to work with most of the time. So then what you'll want to do once you've got it kind of secured there, you're going to go around, and where all of these little circles are marked, you want to either punch or cut a hole. And I'll do a few with the hole punch just to show you kind of how it works. And you will notice that it's hard to get it to go through there, and when it does, it makes noise. And so now you can see that when I punch through, it doesn't come all the way off, but it kind of leaves this little flap. And you'll want to go back with your scissors and cut those off if you're using a hole punch. Now also the way I have mine taped down, it's not, I can't quite reach all the way to where those holes are with my hole punch. So I am punching slightly outside of them, and this is more of a guideline, so just to kind of give you an idea of how you want to set these up to get the right number of holes to feed your drawstring through. Because once you start doing your drawstring through there, you're going to want it to kind of weave in and out of the holes. And then on the same hole that you started to go in through is also the one you'll come out of. So that, and to kind of give you an example on this bag, they're both going to come through that same last hole there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up my hole punches really quickly. And you probably will have to kind of pull your hole punch apart after you punch the hole. At least that's how it's been working with mine. And if you don't have a hole punch, you can do this with scissors, or if you have an X-Acto knife and you're comfortable with that, just be careful because those are super sharp and you don't want to injure yourself. Let's see, about halfway around. And this is, I didn't secure mine super well this time, so it's kind of flittering around, but it should still turn out okay. All right, just a few more. And if you're doing an X-Acto knife, instead of cutting out little circles, you can just cut little slits. If you do that, it might make it a little harder to thread the yarn through. So you may need to use like a big, like if you have a yarn needle, which is kind of a big dull needle. Any of you that like crochet or have parents that crochet, might have yarn needles around, and they're just big, not even sharp needles that are great for, you know, weaving ends and stuff like that. All right, so now I've got those punched. I pull off my pattern and I stick it to the side over here. And what you'll want to do, if you've done yours with a hole punch like this, is go through and just trim off these little pieces. I'm gonna not do them all right now because you get the idea of how that works and how to trim those off. But what I'll do next is now you've got some yarn and you can pick whichever piece of yarn you want. You should have like plenty of yarn in there. So you should have enough to easily go all the way around. And you just want to start weaving that in and out. So you go in the first one and you're just like, the way you would do like a sewing card, like if you ever did those when you're little, or maybe I'm just like showing how old I am now. But it'll pull through really freely, and you want to go all the way around until you get back to the same hole where you started at, and you'll come out of that one. So both of your little drawstrings are going to come through on the same one. Now, something else you can do, you do have 2 pieces of yarn in here in your kit. So if you want to do a drawstring that cinches up on either side, you can do both pieces of yarn, or do one piece of yarn and just like cut it in half, but thread it through, once where it comes out, like mine comes here. So if I wanted to do it on each side, I do one that came in and out here and one that came in and out here. That way, when it all drawstrings up, I don't think drawstring is a verb, but it is now. But when you cinch it up, you'll be able to use both the sides and tie them together. So then once this is all the way around, we're going to get to decorate it with some beads so that it doesn't pull back through the holes, and also just to make it look a little neater. Now, what is provided in these kits is just kind of what we had to send with you guys. You are welcome to supplement or replace any of that with stuff you have at home. If you have your own felt of a different color that you like better, or other yarn, or different kinds of like beads or decorations, you can totally make this your own and decorate it, however you want to. And of course, once you do these, we would love to see what you have created. So share those with us. You can share them on Instagram, on Facebook, you can email them, anything like that. We would love to see what you guys have created. You could also share them on our Discord server. So if you guys are on Discord, we do have a YA Discord server. You can get that information. Just send us an email and we'll give you the link to join. And then there's channels in there where you can share like art and creations, all kinds of stuff like that. All right, so now I have this gone all the way through, and we see it goes in and out that same one. And the side that these strings come out of is going to be the outside. So as you start to kind of pull on it, you'll see it starts to draw it in. Excuse me, asthma, I promise. And so as you pull on those, it draws it closed and cinches it up into a little bag. And then what I also like to do on mine is circle back around the outside. You can do it that way if you want to when you tie it off. But now that you've got your bag with your little tails, first we want to make it so that it won't open too far, because you probably don't want it to open up all the way back to a circle again. So let's open it back up until it's kind of the side stands straight up like this. And that's where you want to put your beads. So I've got a few here and I'll just grab a couple to put on there. If I don't throw them everywhere first. All right. So what I'll do is thread one of these beads on, and I want to pull it up so that it's right here at the edge of that hole, and this will keep that yarn from going through there. And what you can do here is just tie it around so that you've got the bead tied onto the yarn right there, and that will help keep it in place. And you can do it once or you can do it twice to give it a knot and make sure it's not going to go anywhere. And once again, make this your own. use whichever beads you want to use. You do have those bigger cylindrical beads like these. That's what I use kind of as the stops on mine, with a few more for decoration. But do them however you want to do them, you know, whatever sounds cool to you. And they are just a good way to keep it from, you know, the whole string coming out of the bag, kind of like when your hoodie string comes out and then it gets lost, because that's definitely happened to me. But this will help keep that from happening. Finish threading this one through and getting it tied down on here. And then once you have those kind of secured to keep the string from coming out, you can add more beads however you want. And I'll usually thread them, like, see how these are just in sequence, they're not tied in between them. But it gives them, you know, it just gives you something decorative on there, and makes just a little bit of a cool noise. You will want to put a knot past your last bead. And I would recommend some of the beads that are in your kit are going to be smaller beads than others. So if you use those smaller beads at the end, they will hold on those knots and not be as likely to fall off. But of course, you know, if it falls off, you can put them back on, you can change them out, you can do them however you want to. But once you've got those on there, you just cinch it up, and then you'll trim off the extra. You can see I've got like a ton of extra yarn on this one, but you'll just, like I did on this one, you'll cross it over each other and cinch it down and wrap it around the bag and kind of tie it on the other side. And that is your no-sew drawstring bag. So it's super simple to do. You can always do more than one if you've got extra yarn. And I've been, not yarn, felt, almost called it flannel. Wow, words hard. So hopefully you guys are, you know, your brains are holding up better than mine, especially school and everything. But that's our drawstring bags. If you have any questions or want to know how I did anything, just send us a message. I'll be happy to help explain in case anything was confusing. And let us see your finished products. And what are you going to keep in your bag? Right now, mine is dragon eyes, but it might end up being dice. Thank you guys for tuning in, and stay, you know, checking our social media. We'll let you know what our next one is going to be, not next week, but the week after, when we do our next craft kit. Thanks guys so much, and have a great day. Bye.